Welcome to another edition of the Independent Creator Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be opening up our behind the scenes look of things and stuff, and actually look at trying to organize our mess of hard drives and our whole way of workflow and doing stuff for our content creation. It's something that I have pretty much got down to I've done it myself. I spent several hours today and a little bit of time yesterday as well of, going through the motions and trying to figure out a way to better organize my workflow. And that's just pretty much what I'm going to do, is open up myself to you as this is kind of like a raw, not an open wound. That doesn't sound good. Anyways, but yeah. So the best way to think about it is, how do you yourself look into keeping yourself organized? I'm not talking just your digital files. I'm talking about your workflow. How do you create content? How do you keep track of everything? How do you stay organized and keep organized mess away from yourself and be a little bit more organized, as it were? So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight, is opening up myself to saying, yes, I've spent many hours, almost a good portion of today, yesterday evening or early afternoon or late afternoon, evening, and at night, trying to learn about different ways to organize my digital life. Where looking back at it, it was kind of, it wasn't too bad. It was okay. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it was something that I could have kept track of, and I knew that I could have made things a little bit better. Especially we're trying to keep organized with all the logos, the graphic templates that I use to create thumbnails and all sorts of stuff like that. This is something that I knew I would have to eventually come to head and say, I got to take care of this right here and now. Without saying, let's just burn it to the ground and just start from scratch or start from new, I essentially did that. But all the stuff that I had previously made, I had moved it into an archive. Let me backtrack a little bit, because one of the things I was looking into is a method, the para method. I know if you've been around content creation or just YouTube or anything like that, you might have come across or have heard about Tiago Forte's para method. Is where you go through, and the para is projects, areas, research, and archives. That makes up the 4 letters in para. And going through it was something that I had to relearn how to look how I organize things. And the nice thing is that Tiago himself said that it's not something that is set in stone. It's something that, you can use, but it's customizable to pretty much anyone and everybody. It's very dynamic. You don't have to say, well, para is just projects. That means that projects have an end date. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, well, projects is stuff like videos like this. A podcast episode is a project that I can, put in there. But thinking about it, it's like, well, yes, different episodes or different videos, they do have an end date when they need to be published and uploaded, or uploaded and then published. But it's the fact of that it's an ongoing thing. So it would not be in the projects folder. So this is what I was going through last night and most of today when I was redoing all of my organization, is I was kind of getting lost in the weeds, where I was starting to be getting into overthinking things. Say, okay, like I said, with projects, that is good videos, but then once they're done, then you can move them into an archive. Well, I started thinking, it's like, why would I move them into an archive? Because it'll break all my links for my task tracking. I have a link to where that project folder into the task itself. So I can easily, without having a couple windows open, I can easily say, oh, I need to find out what thumbnail I'll use. I'll go to that particular task, open it up, click on the link, and it'll take me into the folder that lives on my NAS. So I'm like, if I move the folder itself out of projects and put it into archive, that link will be broken. And I don't want to go through and having to redo a link every single time I move something. So I'm like, what's the next best case is put it in areas. Well, that's what I did. But I started overthinking myself again. And I was like, well, if I keep it here, then it's not really going to live. It's not really a project, it's an area. And this is again where it's like I started doing some more research. I was watching some more videos and it's like getting kind of some more ideas of different ways of organizing your file structure as a content creator. I'm like, well, maybe if I use a little bit of elements of para and maybe something a little bit more customizable that is to my liking, that fits my workflow, my way of thinking. And I eventually came to the conclusion that, okay, what I could do is I still use the para method. I'm using air quotes there, but projects are something where they stay there. They stay in the projects folder and I don't move them to the archive. And I got to thinking, say, okay, well, then it becomes a game of cat and mouse. It's like, well, then I start organizing this, and then what happens, because I'll title my stuff by year, month, and date. But what happens when we go into like 2026 or 2027 and going into the future? I'm thinking to myself, okay, we need to find a way, instead of folders within folders within folders, instead of just have minimal folders. So I'm going to show you actually what I have set up here. Let's see if I can do. All right, so we'll have a little bit of so this is what I was looking at. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys to see. All right, so let me backtrack here. Let me go back into my NAS. All right, so what I have is set up. I have of course, yes, I named my my network attached storage a Starbug. Red Dwarf. Yeah, too. Because I used to name my hard drives after sci-fi ship names. So I have the Rocinante. I had some other ones. I forget because I had changed them out. But anyways, so what I did, I still use the para method. So I had the projects, areas, resources, and archives. So for projects, I decided, well, what better way to have a reference prefix for each folder? So that's what I did. I created a reference sheet. I have, for the first 2 hours, the Independent Creator Podcast, any independent or indie creator hub, 0 Point Report, 2-Tone Waffle, and I think that's it. I might be blanking on something, but for now, this is what I've come up with. So I had the first 2 hours, which is F2H, then the year, month, then date, and of course the actual title of the project itself. So in this case, Crazy Machines 3, which I'll be, if you don't know, I do a video series called The First 2 Hours, which I play a game that I have never played before for 2 hours, and then at the end of the live stream, go through and review it. So I have them set up with a template that I copy and paste. So I have like a roll, which a roll means is like talking head. Like, so if you're watching a video, this is a roll. This is me. That's typically called a roll. A B roll is where it's like the gameplay footage itself, nothing else, or some other things. Audio assets, image assets. Image assets is where I have like the promo images. St. Clean used to use blue as my alias several decades ago. Yeah, I mean, it's something where it makes it a little bit easier to remember your hard drives or your folder locations. It's something fun. Yeah, I have image assets. I'll have like my the promo stuff that I have created. The Discord event banner will be in there as well. Thumbnail assets. This is going to be where I'll download like screenshots of the game, or if there's elements that I need to use for whichever that I might think of using within a thumbnail. So I'll have a space for all that. Video assets, that is going to be where after I'm done recording, the raw edit or raw files, like the video, the A-roll, B-roll, the different things that are siloed out, will be living in here. That if I wanted to use an external video editor, I'll have assets that I can pull from here and place into like Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve or whatever. A thumbnail final is, as you know, it says on a 10, the final thumbnail after building it. And then of course, you know, the final render for the final version of the video after doing all the editing and coding will go in here. So it's kind of separated out from the raw stuff. It lives in its own folder in case, and this also includes any kind of shorts I will be making. They'll also be living in here as well. And documents is where I take the transcripts, the subtitle file, they'll be all living in here. And of course, when I take the transcripts and print them up to post up into a blog post a day or so later. So it's kind of like I looked at this. Believe me, I spent hours today staring at the screen going, okay, do I really need this? Or can I add something else? If I add something else, then it's just going to get even more bloated. So this is what I came up with. I got it from I forget the person's name, but this is how they have laid out their YouTube video files. So what they do is they have this master folder structure, which has the blank folders here. And all I do is, right click on it and then duplicate, take the title from Notion and then create the folder and then go into Nextcloud, get the link, set up or paste it into the task field. It's convoluted, but it works. It's a manual system that doesn't really take too much time. So like if I wanted to show, let's say, right here, I'll bring my my Notion over. So I have my task tracker. So these are all the ideas that I have. If you watched my video a couple days ago, this past Sunday or Monday, I did a live stream of slight changes that I'll be making to the Indie Creator Hub. It's a YouTube channel. One of those changes is that I wanted to at least get 100 video ideas. And this is what I come up with so far. And I'm still working on it. As you can tell, I'm very far away from my goal of 100, but I gave myself at least 2 weeks to do. So it gives me time to do all of this. And so I can work my way down and to add, if I want to do, let's say, Ecamm basics, setting up your first scene, like a tutorial video. So I'll put this and put it into the production list and get it all set up. Going into it, I have, like I said, a space for, the project folder. And that's where I take the link from my Nextcloud, the NAS link itself, and I post it up in here. And then, of course, I'll edit or enter all the, like when I'm going to be doing the live or recording the video, when I want the edits to be due. This is just little mental notes for myself. I need to be done with the edits at a certain date, which is normally the day prior to the posting date or publishing date, which would be my due date. And of course, I have where this is like the task itself is opened, gives me I have it set up for when it was last updated, and links for PeerTube, YouTube, blog post link. If it's a podcast or it's a podcast episode like this will be, I'll have the transistor link here as well. And of course, for the blog post, I have a link to the content library for the blog posting. And I know in that video I said I'm going to be using ClickUp, but after I know when I said that using ClickUp is probably the better option, I had totally forgot that using ClickUp comes with some caveats. One of them is that if you're using a web-based or the browser-based version of it, it's a little slow. Like when you go into, like if I go into like the database, it opens it up. It's like it's opens up each one very slowly. So I forgot about that. I'm like, wow, do I want to deal with this for a good year before I drive myself crazy in less than a couple weeks? So I'm like, even though Notion has some issues, but I kind of resigned myself to not tinker with it as much as I used to. As you can see on the screen, I have, for audio people listening, I have at least like 8 different pages, and these are all prior attempts or looking at different things, see how they function, if it'll be a good fit, how well does it work, does it work in my style of workflow. So what I'm going to be doing throughout the week and maybe into next week is going through these and it's like, okay, is there anything I can pick out of here? Nope. All right, delete it. Just go through here and delete it. Because I spent hundreds of hours, because I've been live streaming and creating content for a good 10 plus years. And I have a lot of old habits I need to break from. And this is the reason why I wanted to do this episode as it is to open myself up to you all to say, hey, you know, I'm probably worse than you in creating, you know, organizational debt that I constantly have to tweak things, to experiment with them, to see how can I make it any prettier? Can I make it any better? I spend more time doing that than actually doing the work of creating content. And this past week, I was like, I have to stop doing this. And that's why I did the video, the channel reflections video, and doing this episode tonight. And it's just one of the things like, okay, again, getting out of my comfort zone and getting this done, opening up behind the scenes, showing you what I'm doing. And this is my work. You know, it looks complicated, but to me, this is actually pretty simple. It's proving to myself mostly that I don't need to have, you know, this big cover image or make it look like an awesome looking dashboard with charts and Gantt views and timelines. It's like, no, I don't need any of that. I just need, you know, a task list, calendar to show me like visually what needs to be done, when it's going to be done, or when it's going to be done. And that's pretty much it. And it's just a database, and it's just a collection of stuff that I've wanted to, am doing, and have done. That is basically what I'm doing here. And one of the processes, like I said, was getting into the organization of my file structure. That was my main concern, is getting this taken care of and getting it to a point where I feel comfortable going forward with this. Because like I said, with this as a project, I have it all listed out, and I have my resources. I have a two-tone waffle that has my assets. So I'm showing on screen, I have my template folders that have all of the thumbnails, the blue sky profile headers, thumbnails, the Discord event banners, anything to do with this particular channel. And the same thing for independent creator, indie creator hub, and stuff like that. I work in Affinity Designer, so I have all this built into one file. Now I can go through and create the files from within that template. That's what I'm trying to say. I also have all the logos that I use for the different channels and content that I have. So I have like my two-tone waffle ghost header image. You got the independent creator or any creator hub Android logo, and I have like the dimensions, like it's 512 by 512 pixels, and it's the version 1. I decided to go from here. So if I make a new version of this, I'll name it or set it up as version 02. So I know the higher the number, the latest version that it is. So, and then I have like the brands. These are all the different logos. I went through and made sure I changed the names. And this is a lot of work, to tell you the truth, of going through and making sure, like changing the file name for this particular icon for Discord. So I set it up as icon Discord blurple, because that's what it was originally titled. And I have icon Discord black, or icon Ecamm live. The icon for Ecamm live instead of like live is something like a descriptor. No, that's the name of the program. So I went through and changed all of the names. So it's easier if I wanted to do a search. All I need to do is do a search for logo, and it'll give me all the stuff for the logo. It's titled logo or word mark. So I have that. It makes, yes, it's harder to do now, but it's future proofing and making it easier for future me to say thank you. So that's why I was going through the whole process of getting this done and taking care of it. Now, for the Unsplash files, I don't change that. I haven't changed that. I know I should, because it comes up with its file name that you get from unsplash.com. And Unsplash, if you don't know, is a great resource for free stock art, photos, I should say, that you can use for free. It is owned by Getty Images, but they Getty Images bought it, I think, last year or the year prior. So they offer a paid version with, the better quality pictures and stuff like that. But they do a lot of free photos that you can use. And if you've been following me for a while, you've seen these before. Like this one right here, the one with the 2 arcade cabinets in front of the paper wall. I've used that a lot, and also in artwork for the Indie Basement, thumbnails and channel art. I use Unsplash a lot. And of course I had sound effects. I have to go through. I have to change some of these names. Like I have all the fart name or the fart sound effects and stuff like that. So it's a work in progress, but I got the foundation to where I want it to be. And I know I can change it eventually down the line, but I don't want to. And all the old stuff I had is basically, I took yesterday and today, and I said, I am starting from fresh. This is a fresh start. Burn everything to the ground. We've got from the foundation. Let's build up our inventory and go from here. So I still have all my old stuff here. It now lives in the archives. The old projects. I got, 0 Point Report, old episodes in here. That's where they're gonna live. So I didn't delete anything. I just moved it into a place because I had not touched any of this stuff in probably months or a good year. So it was a good point just to say, okay, all this stuff, archive it. If we need it, we can always call it back or go searching through it again. So the stuff I do, is all going to live in projects. That's all the video files. And like I said, I didn't want to have a folder within a folder, because what I used to do is I had like projects, then I had it goes into like two-tone waffle, or let's just say projects, first 2 hours, then 2025, and then the actual folder itself. And I was looking at that, I'm like, that's a lot of clicks. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4.5, because you're inside the project folder itself. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, let's just have 2 clicks. Let's try to keep this as simple as possible. And we'll just work off of with the prefix. So first 2 hours, 2025. April, what is this? April 11th, 0411, Crazy Machines 3. So if I do a search for anything that's F2H, that's first 2 hours. So it'll display everything for the first 2 hours. And that's the nice thing is, yes, it might seem on the outside that this is going to get extremely bloated, but you have to think about it, is that what's going to happen is that I'll be able to easily get into this by searching. And let me show you, actually. I use, this is all in Mac OS. So what I could do is right click on projects, and I need to actually go to file, and I need to do a new smart folder. So I want to do a search in projects. Click on the plus, and name matches first 2 hours. So it's going to pull up first 2 hours. Okay, so let's say I want to look for, and we're in like next year. I don't want to look for all the ones in April. I'll do, because I know my naming, how I name things is F2H 2025 04. And it gives me everything that was in April. So I can easily search for something without having to go into the actual folder itself and say, oh, here's my folder. And I know there's an easier way, which I want to do is try out the app called Hazel, which is a lot of people swear by this app, where it can search through your entire operating system for different things. It basically takes what I just showed you here with the search, and you can set it up as a rule. If I want to find stuff for April 2025 and the first 2 hours, you automatically can create a rule for that and run it, and it'll produce the results for that. There's also an app called Raycast, which I believe integrates or has elements of what Hazel does. It improves on it. So those are some of the things I'm going to be looking into going forward, is to, making it easier so I don't have to go into the actual folder itself. I just open up Raycast or do a Spotlight search. Well, Raycast overwrite or takes over Spotlight and searches through your entire system for whatever you're looking for. So that's one of the things, the next step I'm going to be taking, and my rebuild of my organization skill sets, as it were, because I have not been very good. I'll admit that. As you saw, my projects and my other stuff was very not good, as it were, where it was just, not good. There's other terms, but we'll keep it nice here. Yeah, that is what I'm going to go through, and to also help show anyone who watches or listens to this episode that say, hey, you're not alone. There's other people out there that are, just as bad or not worse. Because I kind of see myself as being the worst at being organized. And yeah, I'm not I'm not going to say that I'm this perfect or the poster child for this organization, but I'm pretty close. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and do let me know what kind of file organization that you utilize yourself or your workflow for content creation. Would love to hear or see your ideas and your examples. And, you can leave a discussion in the comments down below. And if you don't want to do that, you can just leave an emoji, a poop emoji. I mean, it's something, it's an engagement. Now, what I also want you to do is, if you're listening to this on any kind of podcast player of your choice, either Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, leave a review, leave a 5-star review. Definitely would love to see that. And it helps also get the podcast, out there for anyone else to enjoy. And I'm also going to be going through another change and doing a better job of promoting my work as well. So I hope to see you next time on the Independent Creator Podcast, and have a good night. Later, taters.